Let's talk about what's happening in the Durham Region real estate market right now, without the drama and without the panic. If you've been trying to make sense of the headlines or mixed emotions about the market, I want to give you a grounded local update so that you can understand what this means for buyers and sellers in Durham Region. My name is Adelaide Carriere. I'm a local realtor here in Durham Region, and I work with buyers and sellers every week who ask me about the market and making a move. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out using one of the links in the description below, or you can subscribe to my channel if you want calm market updates without the panic, without the hype. Today's discussion is based on information collected by the Central Lakes Association of Realtors. So let's get into it. First, here's a market snapshot. As of the end of January, moving into early February 2026, the Durham Region market is best described right now as a balanced market. We're currently seeing fewer sales than we had in December, and that's a drop that is very typical for this time of year. This seasonal slowdown tends to filter out the more casual shoppers and leave the more serious buyers active. This usually creates a more steadier environment with less chaos and more thoughtful decisions. Let's break down the numbers and then I'll explain what they mean. We recorded 382 home sales in January, which is down from 455 sales in December, which, as I mentioned, is normal. January almost always shows a seasonal slowdown after the fall market and holidays. The average selling price came in at about $821,000. That's down about 2.7% month over month, and also lower than January of last year when the average was closer to $897,000. Listing side, 1,085 new listings came to the market. That's down about 10% year over year. Active listings rose to 1,480. In plain language, buyers currently have more choice than they did last winter. Next, let's talk about the inventory and market balance. How do we know that it's a balanced market? We take the total number of active listings, in this case 1,480, and then we divide it by the total number of sales for that month, in this case 382. This gives us about 3.9 months of inventory. Typically, 1 to 3 months is a seller's market, 4 to 6 months would be a balanced market, and then anything above 6 months would be considered a buyer's market. So at 3.9 months, I would still consider it closer to a balanced market, especially with what I'm seeing and hearing on the ground. Next, let's get into the mortgage rates and buyer confidence. One of the main drivers right now is the mortgage rates. The rates have come down compared to where they were in 2024, and that's increased buyer confidence and activity even amid economic uncertainty. The Bank of Canada made 8 rate announcements in 2025, and overall rates dropped by about a full percentage point. Lower rates mean lower borrowing costs, better refinancing options, and more opportunity as we head into 2026. Now, I want to be clear. The rates are not sending everyone out to buy, but what they are doing is bringing more qualified buyers back into the conversation. I'm seeing that directly with some of my buyers who were waiting, and they've now come back to the table to discuss potentially making a move. Let's talk about inventory and sales activity. Inventory is lower than peak levels that we saw last summer, but buyers still have a solid selection of homes across Durham Region. Now, as I mentioned, sales volume has dipped, which is normal for this time of year. But there's also something happening underneath that. Homes in certain price ranges, especially more affordable segments, are still moving quickly when priced correctly. So let's talk about that for a moment. We're seeing fewer multiple offer situations overall, but they haven't disappeared. They're still happening with lower price points, well-presented homes, and well-located properties. Most homes are selling closer to the list price, often slightly below at around 98% of asking on average. This is one of the clearest signs of a balanced market. So, in other words, while buyers still have more negotiating room, good listings are still getting attention. One number that I really want to explain because it matters is days on market. Homes are currently averaging about 39 days on market compared to about 30 days last year. And I want to normalize this because longer days on market doesn't automatically mean that there's weaker demand. Homes that are priced right from day one, well presented, and professionally marketed are still moving faster than the average. The properties stretching the timeline are typically the properties that were priced too high and had to adjust later. So what should buyers focus on? If you're a buyer in Durham right now, your advantage is choice and negotiating space. But preparation matters. Have your pre-approval ready. Be ready to move when the right home appears, and don't rely only on weekend browsing because good listings can move quickly even in a balanced market. Before you start touring homes, understanding your financing options is incredibly important. What should sellers do? Well, for sellers, this is a strategy market and not a test market. Realistic pricing is especially important right now, particularly if you're at a higher price point, it's a condo, or in the northern Durham region areas. Your first 2 weeks on the market bring the highest visibility, the most serious buyers, and the strongest showing activity. If you miss that window by starting too high, listings can stagnate, and later price reductions rarely create the same momentum. Right now, strong results are coming from realistic pricing, strong presentation, and wide exposure from launch day. So thank you so much for watching this video, and here's the calm takeaway that I will leave you with. This is not a crash market. This is not a frenzy market. This is simply a strategy market. Prepared buyers are negotiating well, and prepared sellers are still selling successfully. But the days of careless pricing and emotional decisions are behind us. If you're trying to figure out what this market means for your buying or selling plans in Durham region, I'm always happy to walk you through it. Your plan matters more than the market headline. You can reach me through email, hello@carriererealestate.ca, or through the links in the description below. Otherwise, you can subscribe for calm, local Durham region real estate market updates.